Today, I'm delving into a chilling confession from my former FBI mentor about the Zodiac killer, challenging myself to uncover the truth behind it all. My mentor, a seasoned veteran of the Bureau, was someone I deeply respected and admired. With years of experience and a keen eye for detail, he was a master of his craft. Little did I know, he harbored a dark secret tone that would forever alter my understanding of the infamous Zodiac killer case. The Zodiac killer remains one of the most enigmatic and terrifying serial killers in American history. Active in Northern California during the late 1960s and early 1970s, he is confirmed to have murdered at least 5 individuals, though he claimed to have killed 37. His reign of terror began on December 20, 1968, with the brutal shooting of high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday near Vallejo, California. This was followed by the July 4, 1969, attack on Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau in Blue Rock Springs Park. Ferrin was killed, while Mageau survived despite serious injuries. The Zodiac's third confirmed attack occurred on September 27, 1969, when he stabbed Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard near Lake Berryessa. Shepard succumbed to her injuries, but Hartnell survived. The final confirmed murder was that of Paul Stine, a San Francisco cab driver, on October 11, 1969. In addition to these attacks, the Zodiac sent a series of taunting letters and cryptograms to local newspapers, filled with cryptic symbols and messages that have intrigued and baffled investigators and the public alike. Saturn 0 Search 3. One of the most unsettling aspects of the Zodiac case was his ability to manipulate and control both his victims and the media. He orchestrated a campaign of terror, deliberately targeting couples in secluded areas, always managing to stay one step ahead of the authorities. His letters, often beginning with the chilling phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking," were cleverly crafted to mislead and intimidate, leaving behind a trail of confusion and fear. In one such letter, he included a piece of a blood-stained shirt belonging to his last known victim, Paul Stine, as proof of his deeds. The Zodiac ciphers, some of which remain unsolved to this day, added an extra layer of mystery, suggesting that deciphering them could reveal his identity or motives. Saturn 0 Search. The impact of the Zodiac killer on the public psyche cannot be overstated. He embodied the darkest aspects of human nature, representing a malevolent force that seemed to defy explanation or understanding. His crimes struck fear into the hearts of many, tapping into deep-seated anxieties about random violence and the unknown. Despite the horror he inspired, the case continues to captivate, with countless books, documentaries, and films attempting to unravel the mystery. The 2007 film Zodiac, directed by David Fincher, is a notable example, meticulously depicting the investigation and the obsession it fueled among those involved. Saturn 0 Search 0. My mentor was assigned to the Zodiac case in the early 1970s, tasked with reviewing evidence and interviewing key witnesses. He became deeply engrossed in the investigation, meticulously analyzing every detail, every shred of evidence, every word and symbol left behind by the killer. He was particularly fixated on the cryptic codes and letters, believing that cracking them would unlock the case. He spent countless hours poring over these ciphers, searching for hidden patterns or messages, often to the detriment of his personal life. As I grew closer to my mentor, I began to understand the profound effect the case had on him. He was haunted by the memories of the victims, the brutal efficiency of the killer, and the immense challenge of solving the case. The weight of the unsolved murders bore heavily on him, leading to sleepless nights and a growing sense of frustration. He confided in me about the pressure from both the public and within the Bureau to bring the killer to justice, a pressure that only intensified with each passing year without resolution. One evening, my mentor summoned me to his dimly lit office, his demeanor more somber than usual. The room was cluttered with case files, newspaper clippings, and cryptic notes pinned to a large corkboard, a visual representation of his relentless pursuit. He motioned for me to sit, and after a prolonged silence, he began to speak, his voice tinged with a mix of resignation and urgency. "I've dedicated my life to this case," he began, his gaze fixed on the cluttered desk before him. "But there's something you need to know, something I've kept hidden for years." He reached into a drawer and produced a worn, yellowed envelope, its edges frayed with age. Opening it, he revealed a letter, its handwriting eerily familiar. "This letter," he said, his hands trembling slightly, "was sent directly to me. It's from the Zodiac." My breath caught as I recognized the distinctive scrawl, the cryptic symbols lining the margins. The letter was a direct communication, addressing my mentor by name, taunting him for his efforts, and issuing a chilling warning. "Cease your pursuit, or the consequences will be dire." The revelation left me reeling. My mentor had been in direct contact with the killer, a fact he had concealed even from his superiors. The weight of this secret had clearly taken its toll, evident in the deep lines etched on his face and the haunted look in his eyes. He confessed that the letter had instilled a fear that paralyzed him, causing him to question every step of the investigation, every lead pursued. "I couldn't share this," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Bureau would have removed me from the case, seen me as compromised." But more than that, I feared. That he wasn't bluffing. I feared he was watching me, just as his letters claimed he watched others. "I couldn't risk it, not for my safety, but for those I cared about." My mentor's words hung heavy in the air, and for the first time, I saw him not as the unshakable FBI agent I had idolized, but as a man deeply tormented by the weight of his decisions. The Zodiac wasn't just a killer to him. He was a living shadow, always lurking, always threatening. He continued, "I've kept this to myself for decades, but it's not just the letter. There's something else, something even darker. In the archives, there's a file that was never shared with the public. It contains evidence suggesting the Zodiac wasn't working alone." He hesitated, as though even saying the words might summon something sinister. "There were communications letters sent from different locations on the same day. For years, we assumed he was an elusive mastermind, always 2 steps ahead. But what if there were more than one? What if the Zodiac was part of something larger?" I leaned forward, my pulse quickening as his words painted a picture far more horrifying than I had imagined. A network of killers, or perhaps accomplices, aiding one man's sadistic game. It was a theory that upended everything the world thought it knew about the case. My mentor gestured toward a locked drawer in his desk. Inside that drawer are copies of the letters we never released. They're taunts, yes, but also instructions, directives to others, written in code. We suspected they were decoys, part of his ploy to throw us off. But what if they weren't? What if they were orders being carried out by someone else? He handed me one of the letters, his hand shaking as he did so. The scrawled words on the page were chilling. "2 hands are better than one, wouldn't you say? By the time you piece it together, the final move will already have been made. Tick-tock." The implications were staggering. If true, it meant the Zodiac wasn't merely taunting law enforcement, was orchestrating something far more sinister, something that transcended the boundaries of a lone killer's depravity. My mentor's voice broke the silence. "This is why I never went public. The panic this would cause, the chaos. But you have to share this. You have to let the world know. The Zodiac's identity isn't just hidden in these codes, it's hidden in the structure of the case itself. He wanted us to see him as a singular, uncatchable monster. It was all part of his design, but the truth is far more terrifying." As I left his office that evening, my mind raced with questions. Could the Zodiac killer really have been more than one person? Could they still be out there, watching, waiting for the next move? My mentor's death shortly after this revelation only deepened my suspicions. Officially, it was ruled a heart attack, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than coincidence. Over the years, I've pored over the files and letters he left me, trying to piece together the puzzle he couldn't solve in his lifetime. Some of the cryptograms remain undeciphered, but I've found phrases that chill me to the core. One of them reads, "The game isn't over. It never was." The more I uncover, the more I realize the case isn't just about a killer. It's about a system, a game of manipulation and power that stretches far beyond the murders we know. And if my mentor was right, the Zodiac story didn't end in the 1970s. It's still unfolding. So now I ask you, could the Zodiac have been more than one person? Could the ciphers hold the key not just to his identity, but to a network of terror that operated in the shadows for decades? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you have any theories or insights, share them. And remember, the truth might be closer than we think, but it's also more terrifying than we could ever imagine. The Zodiac's legacy is one of fear, control, and unanswered questions that may never truly be resolved.